Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Somehow I've fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up and face me when I turn at your feet. Somehow I've fallen in the ocean of repeated birth and death. Please pick me up and face me when I turn at your feet. Somehow I've fallen. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Golden time, golden time, golden Fun upon you. That was the first time I ever chanted that melody. Trying to figure it out. Like, so you were the first to hear it. And maybe the last also. See what happens to that melody. Okay. Doing it again. Nama. Namaste, Saraswati. Gauravani, thank you for coming. I've been asked to speak on the correlation between self-care and Japa. One second, can I just make a request to everyone to silence their phone? Oh, yeah. If your phone goes off, you have to drop $100. So yes, please keep your phone on silent. Thank you. Sorry about it. And as I said that, my phone was going to go off. I bet I have 1 second. Now I'm an acharya. So, what time should I stop talking? We have RT after that. 5:45.
7, so we should have the last 10 minutes for questions.
We need at least 45 minutes for questions and answers, and we have 1 hour. So, at some point in my devotional service, I don't remember exactly when, it could have been day 1 or it could have been after 50 years, 40 years. This question came up in my mind that, and I think we've all had this experience, those of us who chant Japa, which is most of us, not all of us, sometimes we're chanting and our rounds are really bad. Have you ever chanted really bad rounds on a scale of 1 to 10? It was below 1, like that. But there's no way it could get any worse than this. This is like as bad as it is. So we've all done that. You know, it's whatever at the end of the day. You can't do it. Trying to get your rounds done, blah, 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 blah. Look at your phone, probably looking at Instagram, eating potato chips, whatever. You're just trying to get your rounds. There's a video about that. Have you ever seen that? There's a funny video. What it's called. I think it's called Courtesy Japa. You can Google Courtesy Japa. There's a video. And the different ways of how not to chant. One lady's watching some Bollywood movie. It's like the worst of the worst Japa. Somebody's on WhatsApp. Someone's playing a video game. So we've all done that, and we've done other things that we know are wrong, but we don't stop them. So you're chanting bad rounds, and you ever, this is stupid. So chanting. I have to get my rounds done, but this is not really chanting, and I just do it anyway. So I have 4 rounds left, and I chant like the worst 4 rounds that ever happened since the beginning of the universe. Get first prize for the worst rounds ever chanted. And we're just doing it. We've all done that. So, and I've done it also. I try not to do it that often, but even Mahatmas sometimes do it. So, and I began questioning myself. Why was I allowing myself to do that, knowing that it's wrong, and just whatever. You ever do the whatever thing? The whatever mantra? Prabhu, you really shouldn't do that. It's not good for you. Yeah. So I started asking myself, where does the whatever come from? Because this is the real enemy. What is it? Where is it? We understand it's apathy, basically. Whatever means I don't care. That's the symptom of apathy. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, apathy is one of the categories of the offensive inattention. Because if you don't care, you're inattentive. Like you tell your kids, you should do your homework. I don't care. You should eat your carrots. I don't care. Like where does it come from? Some kind of emotional immaturity? I don't know. But that question bothered me because it bothered me that I didn't care, and I thought I need to do something about this. Like I need to figure this out. That's when I got interested in contemplating self-care, because I thought something's missing there. There's some lack of self-care that's missing with the whatever, like with the I don't care. And we go through that in our lives with different things. Probably you shouldn't eat that. It's not good for you. Probably you should exercise. You're getting old. Getting fat. Yeah, I know. A million things we don't care about. So I'm thinking, what's this I don't care all about? Like, this is like, why wouldn't I care? Because it's me. Why don't I care about me? So contemplating, realizing I care more about other people. Like, if my kid's eating the wrong thing, you shouldn't eat that, it's bad for you. And then he goes to bed and I eat it. Like why don't I care about myself, but I care about him? And I tell other people, you shouldn't do this, it's bad for you, and I go do it. So it was like puzzling me. So I asked myself the question, what's the origin of this I don't care? Where is it? Where did it come from? And how do I get rid of it? The real sometimes you don't know where something comes from, you can still get rid of it. And you get rid of it, you go back to God. And by the way, how did I fall in the material world? It doesn't matter. Get back to God. So my main concern was like how to get rid of it. And I counsel devotees, so um, I run into the same problem with other devotees. So they obviously knew it wasn't just me, but I found out this problem is much more pervasive than I ever thought. It's just like extremely common. And I thought, this is like my biggest enemy, because if I could just conquer this, then anything I need to do that's important, I will care about it. And if I care about it, I will do it. If I don't care about it, I probably won't do it. So I thought, this is pretty big. This is pretty fundamental. So as some of you know, I developed a course in self-care that went into this. And in the process of doing the self-care course, I understood that when we think we have a problem, like I have a habit, it's a problem, it's difficult to pray, or I don't like to chant. When we think like that, if you just analyze and take it one step below, you'll find that I don't care is below that. But you'll blame it on like, I don't care about Japa. No, take it one step lower. I don't care about my health. No, take it one step lower. I don't care about studying with your kids. Take it one step lower. Whatever I don't care about, you take it one step lower. I would say, no, you're saying I don't care enough about myself to care enough about that. Like I don't really, I like eating food. It's not good for me, but I don't really care about my health. Oh, you're really saying I don't care enough about myself to care about myself. So in applying it to Japa, I started thinking, when someone says, I don't like Japa, I was thinking, no, take it deeper. I don't care enough about my spiritual life, care enough about my Japa. That's the problem. Because if I could get you to care more about your spiritual life, I pretty much I could guarantee you would care more about your Japa. You'd care more about everything because it's more fundamental. And when I started chanting Japa, teaching Japa was almost 20 years ago, but let's say 15, I did it seriously. I never knew that. I never went to that fundamental level. So when I taught the course in self-care, the main realization everybody had was this was the most life-changing course I ever took because it went to the most fundamental level. I'm not caring about myself, and all these problems I'm having are coming from a lack of caring. It's not like I have this psychological problem, that, or I'm lazy, or whatever. I'm not good in relationships, or I'm introverted. Whatever it was, if you take it one step deeper, it's no, I don't care enough about myself to solve that problem, to do something. This is how I am. I can't change. If you cared more about yourself, you wouldn't say that. You'd say, this is not good for my life. I need to change. That was my realization. So what we did in the workshop, it was amazing. And whenever I do a workshop for the first time, I learn things by doing it. Because until my students start giving me feedback and asking questions and we go through exercises, I'm only making assumptions of what it's going to be like. So one of the questions was, how would your life be better? How would your life be different if you had more self-care, more self-love, more self-compassion, more self-acceptance? They were going down this huge list of things that would change in their life. So like if you look at a problem you have, and then I ask you the question, do you think you would have this problem, or at least you would be on your way to solving this problem if you had more self-care? 101% of the time, it was yes. If I cared more about myself, I would do something about it. Isn't that interesting? So they were making long lists of things in their lives that would improve. I'd be a better husband, I'd be a better wife, I'd be a better employee, I'd be a better devotee, I'd be healthier, I'd be kinder, whatever. It's like, and as they were making this list, I was actually in shock. I knew how self-care was powerful, but I didn't know how powerful it was. So then we started talking about like temptation, like our weaknesses, things we give into, our addictions. And I said, if you really loved yourself, would you do that? So, okay. Little key insight, lack of self-love. A little more self-love. I would bring the difficult things that like I could never change. If you had more self-love, could you change it? Yes. So naturally, because I teach Japa, it was like I was thinking, okay, well, we have to apply this realization to Japa. And so what I was advising devotees is when you're stuck, if your job is not good, or you want to make it better, or you're stuck and it's really bad, you think of bad job in terms of self-care. Like, I am not caring for myself right now, because we know chanting Hare Krishna is of all the processes the most important process. So could a self-caring person avoid doing that process well? No, they couldn't, because there's too much benefit from it. So if I actually care about myself, I would be chanting better japa. It just follows logically. Like, if I have a certain level of self-care, self-love, self-compassion, I actually couldn't chant bad japa, because it wouldn't be a self-compassionate activity. It would be a harmful activity. Like, I'm chanting japa and it's not well, I'm getting no benefit. I could be getting benefit if I chant it properly. If I have self-love, self-compassion. Be compassionate, Mahatma, be compassionate to yourself. Chant good japa. So that's something I wanted to share with you to reflect on. Rather than think bad japa, it's just bad japa. I have my hard to control my mind, and I'm not a very advanced devotee, and whatever other reason you have for it, I'm too busy today. Think of it as a lack of self-care. I just did a online japa workshop, and something came up in this workshop, and I made it the theme of the workshop. I said, I cannot afford to chant bad japa. Like, I'm not going to live the life of Brahma. If I live the life of Brahma, okay, I'm going to have some bad years of japa, because I have like 311 trillion years. So a few bad years, no problem. I'll live long enough. But we don't live that long enough. And if you think about it, the end of the race of our life, let's say it's 80 years, so you're all 30, 40. So you're 40, 50 years away. I'm like closer than you. We're closer. We're almost at the finish line. And you get to this point, you think, do I really have enough time in life to be Krishna conscious? And you start thinking, time's running out. Like, it's like you want to retire. Like, do I really have I want to retire at 65. Do I have enough money to retire? It's like, and now you're 63, and like, I don't think so. Time's running out, and I don't have enough. So it's like, do I have enough Krishna conscious? Time's running out. And the obvious answer is no. So if no is the answer, which it is, then can I afford to chant one bad round of japa? No, I can't. I've got to make all 16 rounds count, right? Can't afford that. Life's not long enough to mess up. So if I have this self-love and self-compassion, I have this opportunity to be Krishna conscious. If I actually care about myself, that's what I'll do. If I actually love myself, I'll give myself good japa, right? And if I like, whatever, my rounds are bad, whatever. No. Do you love yourself? Do you care about yourself? Are you Be compassionate. Prabhu, Mataji, be compassionate to yourself. Give yourself good japa. So now if we put it in this context, it adds another dimension of inspiration or another dimension of motivation. Because now I can think, my rounds are bad. And I can ask myself, do you care about yourself? Don't you care about yourself enough to do something? You're just going to schnick, mom, wrong, because it's late at night and make excuses and talk and tell jokes and try to get your rounds done. You ever chat like this? This is classic. This is like, it doesn't get any worse than this, I don't think. You're talking to a devotee, you're chanting and you start talking. And while you're talking, you're going like this. You ever done that? So Prabhu, haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? Oh, really? Yeah. And you talk for like 5 minutes and you got half your round done. You ever done that? I bet you have, you just haven't realized it. So now that you know it is done. You ever talking to somebody? Actually, Sanatana Goswami said it's offense to talk with your hands up. But anyway, do it. But if you ever do it, just notice where your beads are when you start the conversation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice where they are at the end of the conversation because they may be down here. You're like, wow, how did I get my round done? I wasn't even chanting, I was just talking. So if you realize, let's say you realize that, or you realize you do that, and you allow yourself to do that, you have no self-compassion. You have no self-compassion. You're harming it. You're taking this mantra. This is the mantra that's going to get you out of the material world. It's going to purify you more than anything you do. This is like the way we do it, and whatever. That's a lack of self-compassion. So we want to talk to ourselves this way. My dear self, be kind to yourself. This is not a japa problem. It's a compassion problem. Just like I had another realization. I did a course on vows. And they're like, this vow is hard to follow. I have a problem with this vow. I said, think of it differently. You don't have a problem with this principle. You have a problem with vows. Your problem is not, because if you solve your problem with vows, you'll follow the principle. But if you lack integrity, and then you said something and you don't have the integrity to do what you say, you have issue with it. You have issues with commitment. Not with that, not with the thing you committed to, but the commitment itself. It's a different way of looking at it, isn't it? Because a committed person, even though the vow he made is difficult or she made, they'll do it. I married the wrong lady. Too late now, Prabhu. So, I'm a man of integrity. I promised and I'll do it. Everyone who's married realizes they married the wrong lady at some point. What to do? Because every lady, every guy, there's something wrong with. So so there's more fundamentals that we overlook sometimes, and we blame the problem. Well, I'm just weak. I'm not good at this. I don't like the chant. I'm very bhakta. My mind's all over the universe. I can't sit still. I got to, you're running. No. This is the way you go back to God with this mantra. You don't care about yourself. Or no. You made a vow. You don't have an issue with your job. You have an issue with vows. So you take it to a more fundamental level. So this can help you. And so I would ask you to contemplate if this whatever, I don't care, that voice, I would ask you to start working on that with self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love. Put out the fire of that voice. And so then your spiritual life becomes easier because your sadhana becomes an act of self-love. And I say it, I can't. I guess I could support it. That's true. I say the highest form of self-love is japa. Because Prabhupada said if you chant 16 rounds and follow 4 principles, you go back to God. So let's reframe that. The highest form of self-love is 16 rounds and 4 principles. Because by 16 rounds without offense. Because by following that, you go back to God. So if I'm not doing that, I'm deficient in self-love. So if I think, how do I manifest self-love? By chanting well, because this chanting is the cycle of birth and death. And a lot of times when Prabhupada lectured, maybe you've noticed this or heard, he would say, you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime. And that's what you should do. And so it was kind of a plea for self-care. Like, you should do this, it's good for you. Like you tell your kids, do this, it's good for you. It's like he was like a father saying, you should become Krishna conscious, become a pure devotee, it's good for you. You'll never have to take birth again, you'll go back to Godhead. So it really was a plea to self-care. And often he said, he said your real self-interest is to serve Vishnu. Like, so that's a self-care statement. Your real self-interest is Vishnu. Like, if you serve Krishna, it's good for you, and you should do what's good for you. And then Prabhupada would say things like, you should go back to Godhead in this lifetime. Like, that looks selfish, but that's what Krishna wants, and that's what Prabhupada wants. So it's not selfish, but it is self-compassionate, for sure. So, as I said, we always need time for questions. So that's kind of a summation of it. We're going to send you a link to my app, and it has a self-care course if you'd like to take it. It's a self-paced course, but we're going to eventually we're going to have groups that meet when they take the course. So you'll also have teachers who will be teaching you, but very powerful and fundamentally transforming. Was when you're more self-caring. It's like you empower yourself to do things that you couldn't do before, because now you care too much about yourself to allow yourself to not take care of yourself properly. Oh yeah, I'll tell you this beautiful exercise we did. So towards the end of the workshop, we did an exercise, and the sentence begins, "I love myself too much to," and then you fill in the blanks. So then we would go down. I love myself too much to allow myself to. I love myself too much to give into. And one devotee said, I love myself too much to not love myself. I love myself too much to put myself down, whatever it is. And so it was a beautiful meditation. It's actually on the blue USB stick. We have self-care and self-love and self-acceptance meditation. So we have that one also. Compiled from the class, what they said, 35, I love myself too much to allow myself to give into this, to do that. If you're interested. I guess we have someone. So, questions, comments, doubts? Yes?
I know theoretically my place in the material world of space and time, and I'm just a visitor borrowing things here and using them.
Yeah.
Even my body is being used, but it's going to be returned back to Earth and recycled, at least in the world of space and time. And I know this, and I know the truth of it. But then things in the material world happen and start being taken from me, and I fall to pieces.
Mm.
And I start saying, I don't care about coming here. I don't care about Krishna. My partner told me I had too many books. I got to get rid of some. I love my books. I can't do that. I just fell to pieces when they gave me a fire check and they said I have to get rid of at least a fourth of my books. And I love my book. I just turned into like a big crybaby. It's like I didn't even come here for 2 weeks. I was so worried about my books and my things and my apartment and my decorations. And how did this happen to me? And it's like, you're not going to keep them anyway, baby. You're all going to have to give them eventually. And without your books, it's better because you have to think for yourself instead of relying on the crutches of every other person to think for you. And I know that. But every time something happens in the world to take something from me that's fundamental of the material world, the space and time, there's a disconnect between theoretical wisdom and practical application. It just is. I don't know how to fix it.
Well, let's talk about it. The challenge that we have when we're gaining spiritual wisdom, all of us have, that it starts in the head and it may stop in the head. Just because it's in the head doesn't necessarily mean it goes into the heart. The heart is often our heart and our head think differently. Because basically that's what you're saying. My head understands, but my heart is like, I don't want to lose this. My head, and like you already explained what your head understands.
I know the problem. And the Buddha said in the Dhammapada, he said, what good is all your fine words and fine thoughts if you don't act upon them or practice them? You're just bullshitting. Just be quiet. You're not even serious.
Okay, so now the question we have to ask ourselves is, how can I get my heart to feel what my head knows?
It does for short moments. I get little epiphanies of, I'll hear music and it will transport me to another realm of my mystical consciousness. But then it goes away and I get back in the board of every day just again. My car, my apartment, my books, my furniture, my new painting, my body. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta look good. I want people to notice me. And it's like, that's fine. It's not bad. It's not simple, but it's temporary. It's gonna get nature's the key.
One of the ways, I don't think you really, I think that, like you said, it was a temporary emotion. It's just passing. That wasn't
Enlightenment feeling, the mystical enlightenment of, there's mystical enlightenment period sometimes when theoretical wisdom is in harmony and sync with practical behavior in everyday world living. And it's like, I understand my situation. And maybe it's a test. Maybe this is when they told me I had to lose a fourth of my book collection, which is my life. I'm like a egghead intellectual. And they told me, you got too many books. Fire goes, you got to get rid of some of these. And I thought they'd been all of them. I told my mom, my life's over. I don't want to live anymore. This is it. It's like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, and you don't even need those books. You can better to think on your own than rely on the people.
When you're going through that experience, how do you feel? Like, because
I feel like I'm in such despair that I don't even care about Krishna. And I feel like, damn you, Krishna, why are you letting this? Either you're letting this happen to me, or you're testing me. Maybe Krishna's doing this. That's why after a while, when you calm down, first you have your emotions and your heart starts speaking, and then you think you can't handle something that happens to you, and then you calm down and you're like, okay, you can still have some of your books. You don't need them all. It's the apartment complex doesn't want you to have them all. You're better off thinking more for yourself than relying on the crushes of other people thinking for you. This is actually good. And then you start thinking, it's not so bad. But at first, I felt like on the phone with my mom, like a big materialistic crybaby at space and time. And it's like everything I thought I knew from the Bhagavad Gita or the Dhammapada, it's just like you read all this stuff and you think you know it, and then something happens and you act totally different. And Buddha said,
what you knew was on the shelf.
The Buddha says it's nonsense. He said, if you can't practice or believe what you know and think and learn, you're just wasting your time. Just be quiet.
What I'm seeing right now is what I think is happening. It's not that you're not getting it. It's just the time it took you to get it should have been quicker. And I would predict if you stay in the practice, it's going to get quicker as you learn more and more. So when these things happen again, you're like, well, I already been through this. I know how to deal with this. I made it through the book thing. Now I lost this.
I'm gonna lose my body, my youth, my health, my family, my friends. It's just like, this is just one damn test. Either this is just one random occurrence after the other, or this is like Krishna is testing me, and he's testing me hard.
He's preparing. He's
I
preparing.
think this is a test from Krishna. You think there's a purpose to this happening?
He's preparing you. Because
That's a good way to look at it, to deal with it. It's like you need to wake up and just stop being an intellectual egghead and practice what you are learning, and let's test to see how good you are.
Well, sometimes Krishna will put you like, how would you know where you're at unless he did this? Because you would think I'm very renounced and whatever, and then he does this, and it's like, okay, reality check. I'm not. So that's good.
I thought I was pretty wise and enlightened, and this happened. I sound like a 7th grade material baby who just can't get your mom or your daddy to give him something he wants. And it's like,
but you
got a lot of change.
You didn't know that until it happened. Right?
And I got okay with it. It's like, okay, I'll get rid of some of the books. I don't need them all. I'm using them as crutches instead of thinking on my own. It's actually a good thing. I don't have to get rid of them all. But there's going to be bigger tests to come. I'm going to lose my body. I'm going to lose what little youth I have. I'm going to lose my health and lose my loved ones. It's just like, it's no fun.
It's fun if you, after you lose it all, you go back to Krishna. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it's like having to go through fire.
Yeah.
And you suffer, and then once you get to the other side of the fire, you might be purified. But if you're in the fire, in the middle of the fire, it's like, I don't even think about the other side. I think I'm in the fire right now.
As you progress spiritually, you'll use the fire as an impetus. And we're very conditioned, so without the fire, we'll stay here and suffer. And if you feel you're sincere spiritually, we can say 100% Krishna arranged this all, and you're learning from it. And I want to tell you a story. It's a beautiful story. There was one of our devotees who left this world probably in the 90s. About in her last week, she said she was, she's getting very close to leaving her body. So it's kind of almost, it was almost like talking to someone who died and came back and it's telling you, this is how you die. And she said, it's not that difficult. You just have to be tolerant. And if you practice tolerance in life, you'll be able to do this. It's like, wow. Wow. And what is life all about? What is Krishna teaching us? He's giving us unlimited opportunities to be tolerant. And so when the end comes, I can do this. I've done this all my life. But if I'm not tolerant when the end comes, I won't be able to do it. So it's a blessing.
That's the reason we're here in material, matter and energy, space and time form. If Krishna wanted, he could make us be in divine union right away, but he didn't. So there's a reason we have to be here in space and time and matter and energy. Otherwise, Krishna would say, don't worry about it. Just come in divine union with me and drop your body and drop space and time and be an eternal to divine union with me. But he doesn't, which means Krishna thinks for the human being, the human mind or ego, whatever the hell it is, human self, it's just so tiny and finite, it's got to go through a learning process, right? So it's space and time.
You've got independence, which if you have to go through a learning process to use it properly. Otherwise, Krishna didn't want us here. We wanted.
I didn't want to be here. I was going against my will. Two people on section, here I am. And I was too young to know all the troubles that were coming.
You've been here forever.
I know, but when I was a baby, I didn't have the choice. When I was a baby, I didn't think, well, I could kill myself and get rid of it and drop this body. If you don't think like that, and by the time you get to be old enough to think about that, you're still materially conditioned. You don't want to leave. And then all of a sudden you start being told you got to leave. It's just life is
you don't have to leave. You can stay and become a baby again.
Well, I want to leave. I won't be here in 100 years talking to anybody.
Yeah.
Unless I become reborn in another form or something.
Of course. You've been here forever. Be here forever as long as you want to be.
Well, then I got to keep going through this over and over again. If I don't learn to have.
So Krishna's helping you get out of it. So if you see it that way, it's a blessing.
And some people learn quick and some people take a damn long time to learn.
Yeah, like a few gazillion years, maybe. A few trillion lifetimes.
I'd rather have Krishna just at me right now and take me away to divine consciousness and union with them than go through it on their 1,000 lifetimes. It sounds like a pain in the booty.
Well, that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
We're providing you the ticket to go back to God. Just got to follow the process. And you'll get there.
Okay.
Sound good?
Doesn't sound good, but it's the way it is.
Well, you do it, it is good. It's better than anything else. It's better than not doing it.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any other questions?
We all came from the same place. Yeah. Any other questions about the self-care and japa?
Yes,
I thought I would not. Hare Krishna. I thought I would not ask any question because I heard your lecture and I said, yes, he gave pretty much the essence of, what is required. Because as you said, I wrote down this point, highest form of self-love. Many times in the family, like we always say, if I was you, I wouldn't have done that. And when it comes to Japa, we are not following it.
Right.
That is what you wanted to convey through this. So thank you very much.
Yes.
And my question is, all are saying we must go back to Godhead. So what exactly does it mean, back to Godhead? What I understand is the extreme thing when a Vaishnav goes in the Nitya Leela. So how is it possible for a person like me?
Oh, how is it possible for ordinary people to enter Krishna's eternal pastimes? It's not possible, but Lord Chaitanya is making it possible.
Thank you.
So we are disqualified. No, we are unqualified, but not disqualified. It's like let's take a bunch of students with average grades. They're not qualified to go to Harvard, but we're going to do a special program and we're going to allow them to go. So our position's like that. And so so how do I get into Harvard? Well, we need you to do A, B, C, and D. And if you do that, you'll get in. Even though I only have a C grade average yet, even though. So Mahaprabhu was saying, even though you've done so many bad things for so many lives, and even though on your own, there's nothing you could do to elevate yourself to pure love of Krishna, then I will help you do that. And I will give you this mantra. And if you just chant this mantra and follow these principles, it will do it for you. You don't, it's like, here, let's go to the gym. Just try to push this 100 pounds. I will actually help you lift it. You can't do it on your own, but you try. You make it, and as much as you try, I'll keep pushing. And you stop trying, I'm going to put it down. It's like that. And it's the only way it's going to work in Kali Yuga because nobody's qualified. And Mahaprabhu's compassion is so deep that he doesn't want to see us stay here in the material world and suffer. So he said, okay, there's nothing that's going to work in Kali Yuga. So we'll empower the Maha Mantra. So you take this mantra and follow these principles. And then another thing, as many of you know, when Prabhupada came, as the tradition goes, 64 rounds is like, that's like, you don't chant 64 rounds, how you ever even get close to being pure? So Prabhupada tried to institute that, and devotees, just a bunch of young Westerners, how are they going to chant 64 rounds? And even if they could, you have to work, and it takes 8 hours to chant 64 rounds, so there's no time once you stop sleeping. So, and in days of yore, when people chanted 64 rounds, they were looking up there. And they weren't doing seva either. That was their seva. If you have 8 hours of service, well, their 8 hours of service was 64 rounds. So Prabhupada said, well, can you chant 32? And they said, no. And Prabhupada said, well, then you'll have to chant 16. No, said 16, no less. And they said, okay. And then many times Prabhupada said, if you chant 16 rounds, that means good rounds. You're trying to avoid offenses, not apathetic, and just chanting to get them done. And follow the 4 principles. I promise you I will take you back to Godhead. So Mahaprabhu comes with the mercy of the holy name, and then Prabhupada is like, this is like special mercy on top of special mercy. Like Prabhupada's looking at us and going, I don't even know with Mahaprabhu's special mercy if that's enough. So you're going to need more help. So I've cut a deal with, this is the way I say it, I've cut a deal with Krishna. He's agreed. He gave me the key to the back door. The guards, if you try to get in the front door, they're going to look at you and go, loser, get out of here. Kali Yuga loser, forget it. You'll get in the back door. You just mentioned, I'm with Bhaktivedanta Swami. I'm like, okay, you're in. So that's the way I see it. So the point is, we don't regret not being qualified because our qualification is insufficient. It doesn't matter. But the holy name is qualified to qualify us.
Thank you so much, because I was stuck there, I think. Each time I would think that only a Vaishnava who, he has gone into the Nitya Lila. So someone like Prabhupada, right?
Yeah,
So
well,
that was what it-
Prabhupada wants you to go into the Nitya Lila also. He wants all of us to go. And he came for that purpose. So he wouldn't waste his time coming if there wasn't a process that could get us there.
Thank you very
So if you're willing, he's willing to take you. And
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I have some good news for you. When you get to the spiritual world, you don't have to work anymore. And this is funny. One of the reasons I moved into the ashram is I didn't want to work. Like work for me, I was a hippie, and so like work was like, that's the last thing I could imagine, spending my life working, doing something I don't like. And then, I learned about Krishna consciousness and I was convinced, and I knew the devotees, they were just doing service all day. And I thought, wow, I don't have to work. And Prabhupada would say, in the spiritual world, you don't have to work. I'd say, sign me up. I'm going. I'm out of here.
So people who have not been able to attend for the last 2 days, His Grace Mahatma Prabhu is a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, initiated in 1970 and has been with the movement for over 50 years now. So what a wonderful realization, and it's a nice culmination of what we've discussed for the last 3 days, how to improve your japa. But I think the punchline is, if you love yourself enough, then you improve your japa so that you can take care of yourself the best. Adhiguru Prabhu, you have any questions?
How could I answer a question from the Adi Guru? It's impossible.
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance at your lotus feet. Thank you so much. I apologize for not being here for the last 2 days. Thank you so much. You give the attention today to me. I have one small question. Is that yes, we do have to take care of ourselves, but many times we, at least I can speak for myself, we are in this fight between caring for ourselves versus our family responsibility or our material responsibility. Sometimes I feel that I might be too selfish if I would want to devote more time for my own personal growth than I would need to do family work or caring for the kids, or how to find that right.
Well, I can share my realization with you. And this realization came maybe after teaching the course like 4 times. Like I get realization. I study, I contemplate a lot of what I teach is my own experience. And then I start teaching the course and I learn new things. And sometimes they just come in the middle of what I'm teaching. And I was thinking about my relationship with my wife and my daughter, like the question you're asking. And sometimes, in all relationships, there's some friction over my needs and their needs. And that's basically what you're saying. They have their needs, I have my needs, and I have to compromise. I have to compromise my needs, and which is more difficult if they're spiritual. If it's material, it's like easier. Okay, you want to do this or you want to do that. It's not a big deal. But my spiritual needs, I really wanted to, study this today and say this, and there's no time to. It hurts. It does. So, and thinking about that, I was thinking if I put that in the context of self-care, if I do anything which is damaging to my relationship with either my husband, children, I suffer, don't I? So then I started thinking, well, then therefore doing things to keep them happy and keep the family dynamics happy is self-care. And not doing it is self-harm, because if I say, no, I'm going to do this, I want to do this, they're going to be upset. There's going to be friction in family. There's going to be some grudges and this, and ultimately you're going to suffer. And if we look at self-care as doing things which will be beneficial for you. So indirectly, it's beneficial for you to give up some of your needs because it helps them. And in the long run, you're better off. As you know, if you've ever like pushed your way into something that your family didn't like, it generally doesn't work out well, and you end up suffering much more than the suffering you would have gone through if you made the sacrifice. So that was my realization that every time you compromise for a spouse or your children, you're actually doing self-care because it's enhancing. If it's going to, if it does enhance the relationship, maybe it wouldn't be self-care. But if it enhances the relationship, because the relationship is better, you benefit from the relationship being better, and so you're self-caring. And I was so happy to have that realization because sometimes it's difficult to make those sacrifices. And then I realized, no, you're actually making the sacrifice for yourself just as much as you're making it for them. So I would think, if I care for myself, I will care about the happiness of my wife, because if she's unhappy, I suffer. Yeah, it sounds kind of selfish, but it just is what it is. It's just a reality. And that can solve a lot of the friction. Having this friction, you think, I should just give in. I mean, not every time, but in general, I should just give in because she'll be happy, and if she's happy, I'll be happy. Because if your wife's not happy and you're doing what you want, but she's not happy, you're not happy doing it. She feels bad. Right? Like being married is the real juggling. It's a lot of juggling to do. To just keep equilibrium. But if we don't keep equilibrium, it always comes back. We get the butt of the deal. So self-care, it's really expansive in ways you wouldn't think, and that's an example of it.
Japa.
All the women are going to come up and one by one say, "Thank you for saying that, Prabhu. I'm looking forward to the rest of my family life." It's also for you women too, not just for them.
Yeah, one last question from my side. We understand this concept. Is there a way to explain that concept to a non-devotee or maybe a child that that's
Well,
the best form of self-care?
There's so many situations in life where doing the right thing is difficult, but doing the wrong thing is more difficult. But doing the wrong thing in the moment is easier, and doing the right thing is more difficult. It happens all the time. And so if you put that in the self-care context, just in general for anyone in the world, that what would be more self-caring? Doing the difficult thing now and getting the better result, or doing the easy thing now and then suffering later? The answer is obvious. So understanding that, if you had more self-care, you would do the difficult thing. And so if you want to do the easy thing, then reflect, like you're actually doing something that's going to harm yourself. That's a kind of craziness, isn't it? Like if I give you a knife and said, "Would you like to stab yourself?" You would say, what am I, crazy? I wouldn't do that. But you're doing so many things where you're practically doing the same thing. You're harming yourself. So it's a frame of reference for thinking about things that most of us don't have. But you put in that frame of reference, it's like, oh, it's clear. I'm doing things which are harmful for myself. If you want to change your diet, like you're a doctor and you want to change someone's diet, you can contextualize it in a self-care context. It's like, this thing you're eating, it's like poison for you. Like you are committing slow suicide by eating this. You are taking years off your life. How could you do this to yourself? By eating this, you're putting years on your life. By doing this exercise, if you develop a little more compassion and care and love for yourself, you'll be able to make these changes. And that's practical. You could say, look, just try to be, just this week, try to be more think about self-love and self-care and all the decisions you make this week, and then come back next week and we'll talk. See how that helps. If I were a doctor, that's what I would do. And you can do that with children. Children, it's hard because, emotional mature, their brains are not fully developed and, consequences and all that. But you can try. Because I think with children, even if it doesn't look like they've understood, God in there.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think the questions are done. Maybe we can thank Maharaj by saying Hari Bol 3 times.
There's more questions. You just have to let them think. We have 7 minutes, right? If you just let them sit there, there'll be more questions. Okay.
The second one. Would you be happy? Hey, Krishna, would you really be happy or would you not crack?
But easy to say yes. I would say I could say how I would try to take it. I can't say I would do it perfectly. But I would take it that Krishna wants me to go back to Godhead now. And he said, the party's over and I want you to come back. And as soon as I could accept that, I would be fine. Because he did that, which would be the sign that, he's taking. I'm, if it were obvious to me that these were things that were blocking me from him and getting in the way of my spiritual advancement, and he took them away, it would be like a personal act of love. Like he knew what I needed, and I would take it like, wow, that's amazing. Because if I thought I would never get out of this world unless he broke those attachments, I would say, thank you, Krishna. I mean, when it happened, I might be in difficulty.
But this is holding me back. So if I really love myself, best thing to do would be to go to a monastery, and just give everything away and go to a monastery. Really?
Not necessarily. Unless you can use that all. So it doesn't have to hold you back. You have to know how to use it. Yeah, you can sing for Krishna. You can have children for Krishna. You can.
Running with the devil.
So now you can say running with Krishna. Write a new song. Use the same melody. Running with Krishna. That's more fun.
But they're not paramount and fundamental. There's things to occupy yourself in a certain way, a light way, but they're not fundamentally devoted.
And how long are you gonna, how long are you gonna do it? I mean, we've done it, and we're still not satisfied and happy. So it's not like if this salt didn't make the vegetables taste good, it's not like put twice as much salt, it's gonna taste better. We've done these things. It's just salt. We need something better. Krishna consciousness is the thing that you will find much better. When you taste it, you'll naturally be able to let go of things. So go, oh, that's getting the way. This is better. Yeah, he's in your heart. He's in your heart. No, look, everything you're saying, you couldn't say it unless Krishna was giving you the ability to say it. He's right there. He's closer than anyone. Always. Yeah. Paramatma. He's the intelligence. He's your life and breath. No, we're far away. He's close. We're going the other direction. Yeah, exactly. He's like, we turn our back on him so we don't see him. He's like, hey, come back. Yeah. Exactly. You got it. 100%. One more question.
Krishna Prabhuji. So far, many morning walk, he used to talk to his disciples while chanting. So,
He wasn't really chanting in the morning. He was just walking.
actually, I really don't know.
He might be, but a lot of times you'll see him walking, not even have his hand in his feet. But anyway,
So, what conversation used to happen generally? Because my devotees, what type of used to happen?
the Prabhupada, when he walked,
Prabhupada.
he liked to debate. Like devotees would bring up ideas. People say this. What do we say? Scientists say this. What do you say? So it was always the devotees would always bring up something because they didn't want just go on a walk with Prabhupada and him not say anything. And often, if you didn't say anything, he might just not say anything. So they would say, Prabhupada, I was just speaking to a professor yesterday, and we're talking about this, and he said this and that. And Prabhupada made a comment. Prabhupada, I read in the newspaper, scientists are saying this and that. He would make a comment. Everything from going to the moon to the origin of the species, the origin of the earth, to all kinds of philosophies. And Prabhupada liked to debate it. And in debating, he was training us how to. And sometimes he would debate, he would play the devil's advocate. So he'd say something. So what do you say? So I say this. What do you say? And then he would argue, and Prabhupada would say, yeah, but I could say that. That's just your own idea. And so he liked to debate, and that's how he taught us how to explain the philosophy to people, to philosophers, academics, scientists, people in general. So all the morning walks I were on were all philosophical discussions. But I was on a walk with a religious professor, religious studies professor, and it was all about Christianity. The devotee was prompting, in the Bible it says this, and then the professor would say something. They'd have this interaction. It said in the Bible, it says, no one has seen God. And Prabhupada said, no fool has seen God. I have seen God. So like that, just it's all very philosophical. Prabhupada, he liked us to think philosophically. He liked us to be prepared to explain the philosophy because he didn't want people to think this is some religion. He wanted people to think this is a science of spirituality. And so explain it. I was on the morning walk and he said, why does Sunday come before Monday? He said, well, Sunday's the day God rested. Prabhupada said, no, I'm speaking scientifically. That's just your sentiment. Why somebody says, because the sun, the moon, Tuesday is what Tuesday? Tuesday is March. Wednesday is what? Jupiter. Thursday. Wednesday. Venus. Friday is Saturday. I thought Saturday is Sun. Yeah. Anyway, but Prabhupada saying, why are the days in that order? Because that's the order of the sun. And he was playing, look at scientists don't think that. Duh. Why do you think the days are like? Anyway, so conversations like that. Um, just controversy, sparking interest. Prabhupada. Then occasionally, Prabhupada would, like what he's thinking. In one morning walk, he said, they're stockpiling nuclear weapons, that they have to be used. They can't just stockpile and not use them. But Prabhupada was like shocked and said, yes, of course, there'll be World War III. Really? And it's just Prabhupada's thinking process. So some things are just him thinking. It's not Shastra. And then there wasn't, he said in 75, there wasn't World War III. Said, Prabhupada, how come World War III didn't happen? He said, Krishna decided, you've distributed so many books, Krishna decided we're not going to have it. Like if all these people read the books, now they can become Krishna conscious. If they're all dead, that's no good. So just it's more casual talk. What do they say? Off the. Like when you're on TV and they take a break, and then you're just talking off the screen. Yeah. So this is like off the screen, more casual, off the cuff. Yeah.
Mataji kind of gave a segue into, I want to hear from you because we've read in Lilamrita, heard from people that Prabhupada turned hippies into happies. So you were one of them. So can you share I know you kind of gave us a glimpse of you just didn't want it to work. That was one of the reasons. But can you elaborate more?
Well, I like prasadam. No, I was most attracted to the philosophy, but this is my feeling, and I think all of the disciples of Prabhupada would agree, that Prabhupada is coming to teach something, and there's no example of it. He's the only example. So like if you come to the temple now, you start a temple, and you're the only one here, that what everyone is going to see and learn about Krishna consciousness is you, who you are, what you do, the power you have to influence them, the power you have to purify them. So we could imagine if your average Vaishnava came to New York, he wouldn't have the power to take people from sex, drugs, rock and roll to pure Brahminical life. No media, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, and chanting, and eventually becoming monks. And like, it's just like you needed somebody special by whose association your heart would change 180 degrees. And if Prabhupada just came and left his book, gave a few lectures and left, it wouldn't have happened. So our experience in being with Prabhupada was that his love of Krishna was contagious and it was infectious. And so our hearts were changing. And so it's kind of a mathematical equation. Let's say Prabhupada comes here to Cincinnati, and every one of us has a dramatic experience of Krishna consciousness. Like it really changes us. Now, all of you have been changed, and you're all vibrating on a much higher level of Krishna consciousness, which means the whole Krishna consciousness community is going up because you're all vibrating. So now it's like you have this whole movement of Prabhupada traveling, turning up the vibration, that vibration buzzing around in that temple, and that temple going up. And then new people coming in, and it's like they don't even have to meet Prabhupada because they're meeting him through his disciples, who are all buzzing with Prabhupada. So it was really like meeting Prabhupada's disciples was like meeting him in many ways. Like you had similar experiences. Like many people would come to the temple, and the temple was vibrating on such a high level of Krishna consciousness that it was not uncommon for them to come to visit and then just move in and never leave, and they're still here. They were like 18 years old, and just not even think about it. Just like, okay, I'll stay here. This is what I want. I'll test it out, but this is what I want to do. And so you can imagine, like, what kind of place would you come off the street just to check it out and never leave, and 3 days later shave your head and wear robes and be out on the street jumping up and down? That's like it's not ordinary. So Prabhupada had that influence on us that, we may be in our head, maybe I should do this, but he was just operating on our heart just by being there. And then if you study the history of ISKCON, what I'm saying now, if you think of it, when you read the stories, you go, oh yeah, this makes sense. It's like you're reading the stories, devotees did this and that and taking all these risks. It's like, how could they do that? They're only 20 years old. They'd only been devotees 6 months. It's like, if they're vibrating, not on their level, they're vibrating on Prabhupada's level, that he just blessed them, Prema Bhakti Japa. So, when I look at like what I did, it's like, it was not I was not qualified to do what I did, to have the realizations I had. I still feel that today. I have so many realizations. I think I'm not qualified to have that realization. That is like I'm trying to spread Krishna consciousness. So I think Krishna's like, okay, well, we're going to upgrade you beyond your pay level because you have to do this job. So here's 10 realizations you can share today with the devotees. Because sometimes I'm amazed at some of my realizations because I just don't think I'm qualified to have them. These are not realizations that your rank and file devotee, even used to have devotee over 50 years, but still, some of the realizations I have, I'm like, wow. And so it was like that. We're having this like young devotees with these deep realizations and this deep enthusiasm. And Prabhupada really had his association just went so deep, so purifying, so inspiring that we very freely just gave ourselves. We weren't mental. Good I, how can I give this up? I don't know. What if I surrender? Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe I won't be happy. None of that. Just like, let me do this. It completely just, the heart got infected with bhakti. And it just transcended the head. Or the head came along. And it was fun. And we were spreading a movement from nothing. It was exciting. So one of the things it's important to realize, you will look at the Prabhupada disciples, you might say, wow, what they did, I can't imagine that I could have done that. The Prabhupada disciples will look back and say the same thing. I can't imagine that I did that. They'll, now there's like 70s, and they're looking like, how did I do that? Like, I went to this country, like with no money, and I was 20 years old, and I didn't know anybody, and Prabhupada said, go start a temple, and like, that's crazy. Like, what was I thinking? How was I going to live? But somehow or other I did it. I got a place and devotees came. And so if you were there, you think, oh, you Prabhupada disciples, you did this and that. But I'm pretty confident if you were there, you would have done what we did. You would have been surrendered as we were. You would have been as renounced as we were, as enthusiastic as we were, as austere as we were. We lived very austerely, like crazy austere. Just like insane. Living, people piled on top of one another in a van, eating granola for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, things like that. Fine, we were just happy. We were spreading Krishna consciousness. And you look at that, I could never do that. No, you could have. If you were there, not only could you have, you would have. That was Prabhupada's power. And so you needed someone like that to spread this movement. If you didn't have someone like that, nobody could have spread it. You wouldn't, because Prabhupada needed people who embodied Krishna consciousness in their heart. And by his presence, he was so Krishna conscious, we just embodied it deeply. So you had all these young devotees, but deeply faithful. And so us young devotees could do amazing things because of him. So, when anybody asks you, what was Prabhupada like? You say, well, do the math. There's a bunch of, 20-year-olds, like 6-month bhaktas, and they spread it all over the world. Like, how did that happen? It wasn't their qualification, it was his. And we were just surrendered so he could then implant the seeds within us. So we weren't resistant. So he could, so it's not that we didn't have any prayer, because we allowed him to work through us. That's what happened, and it can still happen, and it did still happen. You can still do amazing things. Yes.
Lot of realizations, right? And you were very young when you joined this program, and you said the vibration level, the frequency was so high that every devotee was dancing. So the dancing gave them maybe the feeling of Krishna within themselves. But my question is, when you said I want to be qualified, that's an example of humility. So what do you think comes first? Surrender? We are humble and we surrender?
You have to be humble to surrender, and if you surrender, you'll become humble. Yeah, because if you're not at least a little bit humble, you can't accept a guru because you think you know more than he does. Well, it was so obvious that Prabhupada was self-realized and we weren't. So I think the humbleness was kind of like, if we weren't, we'd be competing with Donald Trump or something. But, it was like, of course, you're going to surrender to this person. It's like, even we weren't humble, we're humbled in that situation. He's so qualified. To not be humble would be just arrogance. Not acknowledging your own weaknesses and so forth.
Thank you, Maharaj.
If I offended any Donald Trump followers, sometimes he's a little arrogant, don't you think? And so even arrogant people in Prabhupada's presence became humble. Yeah. I don't personally see it as humility, I just see it as reality. Right? Here's someone who's Krishna conscious, Prabhupada, and here's someone who isn't. And what qualification do I have to have these realizations? But Prabhupada's like placing them in us because we're trying and we want to serve him and we need these realizations to go on and on. So that was just, I didn't feel humble, I just felt that was just what's happening. That's reality. At least you could see it as humility, but I just saw it as just what's going on. And everybody felt that. It was like so obvious. Like someone said, the power of association. If you go into a walk-in freezer, are you going to freeze? Well, eventually you will. If you stay long enough, you'll freeze. So if you stay long enough around a pure devotee, what's going to happen? You're going to become pure. It's just, you may be very pizza and have a hot body, but if you stay in that walk-in freezer long enough, unless you know some mystic yoga, you're going to freeze. So if you're around a pure devotee long enough, you're going to become purified. And so that we see you as purified, we think, oh, you're a great devotee, you're so effulgent. No, I'm reflecting his effulgence. If I go out of the range of his effulgence, you'll see I'm just like everybody else, or worse. So, but there has to be a sufficient degree of humility, which is, I don't know. Like, how could I know? If I knew, I wouldn't be in this body. Gone back to Krishna a long time ago. Obviously, I don't know. And the guru is the one who can get me out, so he knows, so I should be a little humble, right? I mean, like Arjuna's talking to Krishna. Krishna, what about this? What about that? We should do this, we should do that. Krishna's like, wait a minute. You're having a nervous breakdown right now. You're telling me, like what we should do. It's like the guy on the street begging is telling you how to run your business. Like you're telling me what to do, and you don't even have 1 cent in your pocket. Arjuna, if you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't be lamenting. You wouldn't have this problem. And then Arjuna was like, yeah, I guess you're right. So I am confused. I don't know what to do. I surrender to you. So it's like, we're a bunch of hippies, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and we're not happy. Right? We raised in America in the 50s, 60s, prosperous, spoiled by our parents, had everything. And here's Prabhupada beaming, effulgent, ecstatic, full of knowledge. Okay, I guess I should be a little humble and find out what he's got, because I have basically all I've got is another body, life after life, and he's telling me how I could stop it. So yeah, okay, I can be humble with that. It's in my best interest. So the point I was making, that Joy Hari was asking that question, you had to have someone to spread this movement who embodies Krishna consciousness so deeply that one person, it was like being in a temple with 1,000 people. The experience you would have just with Prabhupada, one was enough. His light bulb was so light, it lit up the whole room. You didn't need light bulbs throughout the whole room, just one at the end. And if you didn't have that, I don't think we could have done it. We just come and go, oh, it's a nice philosophy or whatever, and then go down the street to another yoga teacher and another one, and just, just live our normal life, being pushed around by our minds and senses, and calling ourselves spiritual or something. I went to the Swami's place, I'm spiritual. But I'm doing the same thing. What's the difference now? Well, now I have an Om t-shirt, before I didn't, so I'm spiritual, but I'm basically doing the same thing, getting angry at people and being intolerant and this and that and pigging out and calling myself spiritual. You want to hear something really fun? And then I'll stop. So it's sickly funny. There's a convent, it's called Sisters of Mercy. And they have a sign outside the convent. No, it's a no trespassing sign. And it says, no trespassing. Trespassers will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. You ever seen those signs? Like, full extent of the law. Oh, well, I'm not trespassing on this property either. What does that mean? They're going to hang me, or, they're going to catch me and turn me upside down. Chop my head off. What is it? Trespassers will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Sign, Sisters of Mercy. So that's where most people are at. They think they're spiritual. When push comes to shove, and you look what they do. But when Prabhupada showed up, we couldn't not be spiritual. He was too powerful. He changed us with who he was and what he was teaching. So, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Thank you. So Maharaj will take 2 more minutes to make a couple of announcements, and then we'll go to Aarti. How many of you remember Purnima festival here? We made an announcement on that day. Wonderful. Anybody remember what that announcement was? Yes. So as Maharaj said that we should spread Krishna consciousness, we are spreading Krishna consciousness. Cincinnati, we are spreading our wings, and by the mercy of God Nitai, by the mercy of Prabhupada and the Prabhupada's disciples, we have this property that we will use for Krishna service, and we are going to close it next week, Tuesday. It's one in the front. The one in the front, Prabhu, the one in the front, that's brown building, it's just next to the highway. It'll be visible from the highway. It is on exit 1971 highway. It's a 14,000 square foot, 1 floor and 2 such floors. We'll be acquiring the first floor now. And then eventually, we're buying the whole property, but eventually in a year and a half, we will have both the floors available to us. So we'll close the property on Tuesday. And on the coming weekend after that, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we are going to do a program there with His Grace Lal Govind Prabhu. So we'll have 3 days of Bhagavad Katha, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will have programs from 4:30, 5:30 in the evening up until 8:30, 9:30. We also will have Kirtaniyas from New York and Alachua. I missed all the fun. Belgium. Oh, there we go. So correction. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Kirtaniyas from Belgium. So we are incredibly blessed. Thank you for all your help association. Now, what we need to do is we have a flyer. So do you have that flyer that we can airplay for our Katha? If you can airplay that flyer, what we need to do is we need to get this flyer on every cell phone of Cincinnati if we can. So take this flyer, post it in all your social media groups, everywhere that you can, and get everybody to come to this Katha for 3 days. For all 3 days if possible, if not at least 2 days, if not bare minimum 1 day. So each one of us should take it on ourselves
that we call at minimum 10 to 15 people who have never been at the center to this katha. That will be the real success of our katha and big start to our center, so that eventually we'll convert it into a Radha Krishna temple, and we're going to move our center there. And once we are there, we are fully remodeled. We are going to transition it to a full temple in the service of the Lord and for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So one more thing is His Grace Lal Govind Prabhu gives a wonderful katha, but he does katha in Hindi. So it will be an opportunity for a lot of us to connect there. There will also be devotees who can translate things into English if need be. So it's not that we have to restrict it to only people who understand Hindi. But we need to get everybody in there so that we can have that. And then holy name is holy name. It needs no language. So with the kirtan that will go on every day, with the kirtaniyas that are coming from outside, from Belgium, from New York, so it will be an amazing opportunity. So utilize this opportunity, use this flyer, which will be there on the WhatsApp group, and spread it around to all your friends, and do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to give the holy name. This is the moment where we have to be compassionate. Any questions? If not, then we will just start with Aarti. So, oh yes, one more announcement. In the last month, our book distribution team, headed by His Grace Vishwanath Prabhu, has distributed more than almost 600 books and 600 books. And we have received a donation to that book distribution of almost 1,800 books. Vishwanath Prabhu has a 1920 $1,920. Thank you so much, Vishwanath. We have a WhatsApp group on our community. If you are interested, join that group, and you will be then directed to where to go next. Thank you all. Shall we get ready? We will stand up party now. Thank you. Doing that. Could you please go right now? Everything is good. Actually, our teachers. Brings another water. One is like we not for this one. I have to show.
Actually, I don't know what kind of information. I'll play the drum when you can. It's not coming. It's coming. Shiva Jaya, Shiva Hare Krishna. Narasimhan, flat start, Japa. He started, there's a lot of audio here, and there are some very small, very even very practical books that are applying our practical knowledge. So I will encourage you to take a look at the t-shirts. They have got fantastic coats. Gordon is wearing one of them. The bunch of kids actually who are wearing them today that I saw. And including the wonderful way to start a conversation among kids, give them confidence. All problems start when people start. Question. We have four Krishna consciousness that we can, take this mission, we can sponsor, we can support the mission. That way we can, without saying anything, by just quoting the t-shirt, can speak with someone's thought directly. So that's it. Yeah, we will also we can take this opportunity now to introduce new people. To anybody who has come for the first time to the center. Okay, can you probably one second? Tell us your name and where you're from and how do you.
My name is Makayla. I'm from Cincinnati, and talking to the government to talk about the
Wonderful. Let's welcome Makira Mati to the chanting Haribol 3 times. So you can Haribol, Hari Prabhu, welcome Hari Prabhu by chanting Haribol 3 times. So you're here for the first time? I'm Raman. Who else is with you? Again, Varsana, reason. Wonderful. Such an auspicious day. Let's welcome Lakshmi, Ram Lakshmi, Chaitanya Prabhu, and Ram. Let's welcome all of them by chanting Haribol 3 times.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Mahaprasade Govinde. Rishi God Nitai Sundar Mahaprasade ki. Appearance day of Lavanya. So let's catch Happy birthday to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. आज नाना जी के दरबार में खबर करना हम सब मिलकर जन्मदिन मनाते हैं सारे परिवार की तरफ से सारे परिवार की तरफ से बधाइयाँ बाकी तुम इसी तरह सबको सारे की तरह तुम इसी तरह सबको बाबा की खूब पढ़ो खूब पढ़ो और खूब आगे बढ़ो